Alrighty, so we're doing a presentation over emotional intelligence. I'm Cameron O'Brien.
I'm Hana Denning. I'm Sarah Warner.
There was a sample study done on a group of college students over emotional intelligence where 213 individuals had dropped out of college within the first and second semester, and another 213 college students who were persistent and stuck with their college education. And they went on to test these individuals on their emotional intelligence, and the 213 who stayed in college had noticeably higher emotional intelligence than the 213 who dropped out. And additional research showed that the earlier you start training individuals on emotional intelligence, the better off they are in the future.
Okay, so that leads us to our problem statement. And it is all about the emotional intelligence training within our education system here in Evansville. The EVSC has a unique opportunity that they're not taking advantage of at the moment. Yes, there are some after-school hour programs that talk about social, emotional learning, but there's nothing within the everyday school day that these kids are getting some emotional intelligence education. So the first thing for teachers to be able to implement this into their everyday curriculum and just teaching styles is for there to be first an awareness of this opportunity, and secondly training for these teachers so they can eventually implement this emotional intelligence training that they have learned and to instill it into their kiddos every day. Just with anything that they do, they can implement this. At the moment, there's no plan to make it part of EVSC curriculum, but there are some questions being asked, some probing going on, some research, so that's encouraging.
Yeah, so one of the things that is currently being done is there's social emotional learning being, there are resources for that in some of the schools. I had the opportunity to speak with Sarah Winesapple. She's a teacher at Cynthia Heights Elementary School here in the EVSC school system. And she told me that there was there were social emotional learning resources for teachers. They also offered there's a social emotional learning coach on site for the educators and for the students as well, currently in the school systems.
Susan Phelps is another one that is directly connected to this situation. She is the Director of Neuroeducation in the EVSC. She is currently working on the school to prison pipeline, where they're seeing these kids who kind of fall through the cracks and end up in the prison system, and they see this cycle keep happening and happening. And she's seeing that a way to break this cycle is to implement social emotional learning and emotional intelligence education. And so she's been doing some research over the last 5 years to implement these things within the EVSC. And also Christy Berger with the Indiana Department of Education also said that there are teachers and educators reaching out to the Department of Education for resources. There's nothing being implemented as a criteria, but there are being resources created for these educators.
Yeah, pretty much, I'm sorry about that. Pretty much all of the, it's like across the board with the experts that we've reached out to regarding their opinions on emotional intelligence. They all agree that something is needed to be done with emotional intelligence, that it would be beneficial to the school systems and for educators to be trained in emotional intelligence.
So what is emotional intelligence? It's the capacity to be aware of, control and express one's emotions, and to handle interpersonal relationships judiciously and empathetically. So some facets and dimensions of this, it would be the teachers and the students, and how well they connect with one another, and what they can do to their with their community if they are trained on emotional intelligence, and also help them with their future endeavors.
Yeah, the community connection is probably the end goal for all of this. The earlier you can start emotional intelligence training, like Cam said in the beginning, the better your results are, and the more these kids will grow up and to be very productive in their communities, very productive in their future jobs as bosses, as just really good employees, and of course as parents, you know, teaching their kids these things too, to keep having this healthy, positive thing to happen.
And then the opportunity validation. There's a direct link between social and emotional intelligence, where there's key research shown that being taught this improves students' academic performance in a positive manner, and EQ training was also linked with staying in school, avoiding risk behaviors, and improving health, and also improving the school environment. Just students being aware of their emotions and their feelings and how to react to different situations can benefit them, and then improving community dynamic. And that's our problem to see.
Thank you.
All right.